This video is presented by Adventure Capitalist.
What's the dumbest rule your school ever enforced? Not being allowed to wear hoodies, jackets or sweaters that lack the official school logo. I was a high school teacher for several years. Both buildings I worked in were freezing, and having admin pull students out of my classroom during a 50-minute period and giving them detention instead of letting them learn is cruel and completely unnecessary, in my opinion. My school had 3 staircases along a very long corridor. We were banned from using the middle staircase because it got overcrowded. The ban was lifted once they realized it only made the other 2 staircases just as crowded. If you throw snowballs, you get a 1-day suspension. The first long weekend after a snowfall, everyone would throw snowballs to get an additional day added to the long weekend. To be fair, throwing snowballs did instigate the Boston Massacre.
It's game time, Adventure Capitalist. Believe it or not, Adventure Capitalist has been around for 6 years. Let's get you up to speed if you haven't tried it or haven't played it in years. My favorite part about idle gaming is that you can play anywhere without having the fear of dying mid-game. You only win and gain. On the bus or on the toilet, it doesn't matter. You can even play on your phone while waiting in the lobby of another game. That makes it the perfect game for your second screen. Download Adventure Capitalist during the next 6 weeks and get limited anniversary giveaways, bundles, sales, and more. Be sure you join in on the game every week to claim all campaign rewards. Documentaries. Yes, we've seen them. But what about gaming documentaries? Adventure Capitalist is creating a 5-part docuseries coming soon. The series will be posted on the Adventure Capitalist YouTube channel, showing the behind the scenes of a game studio. 50 million capitalists agree. Best idle game ever. Download Adventure Capitalist from the link in the description.
Candy canes were outlawed because you could sharpen them to a point and use them as a shiv. I went to school in rural Washington. We definitely weren't somewhere that shankings were to be expected. Properly motivated, one could make a shiv out of most things. I got Saturday school for missing a day of classes when I was 16. Seems reasonable, except I missed to go complete my US citizenship and officially become a citizen alongside my mom. It took us 12 years to go through the legal process. BTW. Whole other issue. I had a note from my mother as well as a signed official federal form they give you to explain to school employers why you were absent. Apparently the only acceptable absence excuse was illness. I got punished for becoming a citizen. And now you're one of us. Congrats. Elementary school principal banned talking at lunch. If you were caught talking or even signing to someone, you had to go sit by yourself on a folding chair with no table. There was once my mom came to eat lunch with my older sister and I. The principal was like, "Oh, you should go eat out in the hallway with your daughters," and she was like, "Nah, I'm gonna sit here with my daughter and her friends and talk to them and enjoy their presence." Usually if a parent came for lunch, the student could invite one friend to join. Unless you had siblings, then it was too many people so you couldn't invite a friend. Anyway, one of my older sister's friends whispered to my mom that she was going to move so she wouldn't get in trouble for talking. This was a 9-year-old. That if you say do anything back to your bully, it becomes a mutual conflict and isn't bullying. So if they start calling you slurs and making you feel bad every day and you call them stupid once or twice, the school probably won't help. Also, dress code required school branded hoodies. They were $50. If you wore a non-school hoodie, you got in school suspension. If we didn't see it happen, it didn't happen. All it did was train bullies to be really good at keeping their voices down and being aware of their surroundings so they could avoid doing crap within a teacher's line of sight. It meant if you were ever outside of a teacher's vision range, you were still fair game for heaps of abuse. And if you tried to report things that teachers didn't see, then the teachers treated you like you were making up bulls. It also didn't stop teachers from enforcing double standards, like believing reports from their personal favorites even when they didn't see it happen, since they could just claim they saw it happen if it was contested. That school was basically a training facility to turn bullies into stealth experts. If we didn't see it happen, it didn't happen. Freaking heck. That doesn't even sound good in paper. The new principal made a morning roundup rule where anyone arriving to class after the last bell had to go to the cafeteria and listen to a lecture about not being late for class. This took about an extra 15 minutes, making the students even more late to class than they would have otherwise been. Needless to say, everyone hated it. even the teachers. That principle didn't last long. Toilet paper rationing. This was in 1997-98. BTW. Apparently the high school girls' room was going through too much toilet paper, so the dean, a woman, stood outside the door and distributed a few squares of one-ply institutional toilet paper to us as we went in. If she noticed toilet paper on the floor, our ration got cut down. If we asked for more for bigger jobs, we were told to save it for home. There were several episodes of girls stuck in stalls until friends could beg for more TP because of period messes or unexpected bowel incidents. The dean wouldn't even hand it over. She would go in the bathroom and pass it a few squares at a time over the door. If you didn't catch it as it fell and it landed on the floor, well, that's your fault and you're not getting more. If you use more than she thought necessary, tough luck. Go to class with blood crap on your body. It took about a week of extremely angry parents coming to the school and calling both the school and the school board, but we finally got our toilet paper back, unlimited. How did we celebrate? By TPing her car, of course. I was angry, but Wile's celebration made this whole story worth it. I was sent to the principal in elementary school for getting a drink of water out of line, as in we walked down the hall in a formation and we had designated water drinking stops. To this day I still remember the principal asking angrily, well, what if everyone started getting water without permission? And I still don't have an answer. Closing boys' toilets, because some C was stealing toilet paper. When school staff announced this stupid rule, some students actually threatened to crap on the tables then. Knew a kid that pee in a garbage can one time because he wasn't allowed to go by the same teacher who was denied restroom breaks while she was pregnant in high school. We were not allowed to have facial hair at all, like to the point where the principal would walk around during lunch with razors and shaving cream and do stubble checks. Absolutely ridiculous, and he would send tons of us to the bathrooms to shave during lunch, no matter how small the stubble was. Pull up with no eyebrows. It wasn't really the rule that was dumb, but the reason for it. In my last year of high school, the school issued a rule that all students had to wear student IDs. If you didn't, you had to immediately go and pay for another ID. While you can see how many students may have saw this a way to skip class, the reason for this was the school shootings that happened the previous year. The reasoning was that it would be easier to spot who is a student and who is not a student to then see who has malicious intent. Except that most shooters were students, so I got a suspension for holding a stick. The phone call with my mom went something like this, only slightly dramatized. School, Mrs. The Quack, your son has been suspended. Mom, oh my goodness, what did he do? S, he was holding a stick. M, did he hit someone with it? S, number, he was just holding it. M, did he threaten to hit someone with it? S, no, just held it. M, did he refuse to put it down when you asked? S, no, he was very cooperative. M, so, what did he do wrong? S, he held a stick. M, and I should be upset about that? S, absolutely, you know we have a zero tolerance policy. M, right, well, I'll talk with him. As you might guess, I did not get in trouble at home. He has a stick. Call the police. Razormind starts playing. Went to school during the time where health and safety suddenly started going crazy. They introduced a no contact under any circumstances rule, that is no touching another person. We were like 6 or 7 years old. Suddenly one day not only is tag suddenly illegal, but they actually enforced it. I remember one day like 70% of the school's population was pulled off of the playground and made to sit on the floor in the hall for the crime of just playing the games that children play. I remember in 4th grade me and my friends would play tag every day during recess, but one day they made touching other people illegal because someone could get hurt. Our whole outside area had that playground padding. Everyone still played tag anyway, so they eventually got rid of the rule. In grade school, we weren't allowed to play on the playground equipment when it snowed. Eventually, we weren't allowed to play with snow or even go near it. I got in trouble for sitting in snow. This was in Minnesota where it snows half the year. Recess basically consisted of milling around the blacktop for 30 minutes. Banned all backpacks bags on campus. Students were expected to somehow carry everything they needed in hand. This was especially challenging if you had a non-ideal locker placement. Ours did this too because in college they won't let you carry your bags everywhere, freaking liars. College professors don't give a shit. Textbook checkouts were an absolute crap show. They were assigned entirely by number and condition. They were not assigned to a specific student. As long as you turned in a textbook at the end of the year and the textbook number was on the list, that was the first step to being okay. The second step was condition. The textbooks were graded as new, good, fair, and poor. If the book was returned in a lesser condition than when it was checked out, you had to pay for a new textbook. This included condition changes from new to good, yet we almost never got new textbooks. The ones we had were usually around 10 years old, so they went through at least 3 condition changes over their lifespan. It was pure extortion. You had to pay for the textbook at the end of the year, and if you didn't, they'd keep you from advancing. So that sucks, right? That compounded with another stupid rule we had. Lockers were not allowed to be locked. In fact, our lockers didn't even have a latch. They were just painted wood doors that were really just poorly installed flaps that would hang open. This was ultimately so the cops could check everyone's lockers for drugs, but it led to another issue: stolen textbooks. So the textbooks were generally falling apart and we were expected to both keep them with us for class and also bring them home with us for homework. We also didn't want them stolen, so most students kept them in their backpacks constantly, for every class. This was a rural school, too, so most students had a decent walk home even from bus stops. Mine was about a mile. Point being, the textbooks were abused, as were our backs and backpacks. So you start with a poor condition textbook and add the extra wear and tear, and it's just a matter of time before the cover rips off. So those with crap textbooks would just grab one from whatever exposed locker had one. As long as the student was in the same class as you, it's fair game. In case you were wondering where the money went, it went into new awnings every year for the exterior doorways and into our famously bad football team. Our girls' teams were a bunch of champions and never gotten respect for it. The school only cared about our crappy football team. They would go entire seasons without a single win. Don't play on the golf course. Our tiny community got a burst of cash in the 70s due to having mineral rights on land with oil. It was amazing some of the things we had access to for a school in the plains in Montana: computer lab, ceramics, photography, and a freaking laser. They also bought the grade school a miniature golf course in the center of the playground. A majority of the playground was concrete squirrels, turtles, and a whale. These looked like a lot of fun to play on for a kid. We couldn't touch them. We couldn't get near them. We couldn't land our Star Wars figures on them, incorporate them in our games in any way, or even walk near them when running from someone playing tag. Once in pay, we got out the clubs and played a few rounds in my entire time in school. Other classes never even got that. After about 30 years, during a student cleanup, they got some of the upper level high school kids to take hammers to them and pulverize them. Don't let your underwear show. This was directed at the girls when Madonna was in fashion. One school official went to war on visible bra straps. While no girls even attempted copying Madonna, this official was making a preemptive attack. She made announcements and would bust girls in the halls. About this time, the varsity boys basketball team got new uniforms. Rather than spend money on the other teams, their old uniforms were given to the junior varsity girls team. Jerseys with huge arm and neck holes made for 17-year-old boys were now being worn by 15-year-old girls. Girls that were as active as possible and in public. If they pose for a picture, you could almost not see their bras. While playing, the front of the jerseys flopped from side to side. At least one cup would be visible at any time. Suddenly girls basketball got a lot more popular. Locked the only boys' bathroom because someone wrote on the wall in Sharpie. It wasn't even anything rude or inappropriate either. It was just the word hi or something like that. Didn't unlock the door until one boy wet himself and parents threatened to sue. That kid really sacrificed himself for everyone else. You have to wear your tie all the way home. Some sad bastard teachers would stand on the main road away from the school and try to hand out detentions in presumably their own time. Why even do this? You're not even in the school property. After 9/11 they made us wear school IDs on our shirt or hanging from a lanyard around the neck. For some reason they decided it would be smart to also put each student's medical history on the back. Mine just had nosebleeds written in cursive. So many. You weren't allowed to wear a coat or a backpack. Always freezing with tons of books. No card games at all. 5 minutes between classes. Sprawling one-story building barely leaves time to pee. They outlawed bracelets because there was an article in a magazine somewhere saying they advertised what sexual acts you were open for based on their color. Then someone tried to outlaw wristwatches for the same reason. We had the bracelet rule too for the same reason. Not really a rule, but the toilet paper holders are outside of the stalls on a wall. So you have to calculate before taking a crap how much you need and hope that it was enough. Awful and impossible. Zero tolerance just means that if someone starts a fight with you, you fight back as hard as you can. You're going to get suspended for defending yourself anyway. Might as well make it worthwhile. This was the dumbest rule ever. Someone sucker punched me and ran away. It was all caught on camera. I reported it. I got a week of in-school suspension under zero tolerance. I should have just chased the kid down and beat the crap out of him because then I would have gotten out of school suspension at least. My friend is an administrator at a private school in NJ and the faculty has to sign in and out of the bathroom using Google Sheets. 9 AM. 10 minutes, MF. That's barely enough time for a good cry. Many years ago when The Simpsons first came out, my school banned Bart Simpson t-shirts that said underachiever. It just sent the wrong message to students. So I wore my I'm Bart Simpson. Who the heck are you t-shirt instead, until they banned that one too. The Simpsons made fun of this in Team Homer, season 7 episode 12. Girls weren't allowed to show their ankles. The dean had a pack of socks in her office she would give the students and make them wear. Only girls though. This was the 2000s. Rule: no duct tape on clothing. Reason: some girls thought they could get past the no ripped jeans rule by covering the tears with duct tape. It became a fad and everyone started doing it so it got banned. A kid in my AP literature class found a loophole and made an entire outfit out of red and black duct tape. I mean shorts, a t-shirt and a jacket and shoes. When the school tried to suspend him they couldn't because the rule was no duct tape on clothes. It said nothing about clothes made out of duct tape. He won the argument and even wore the outfit a few more times to say frick you to the school and principals LOL. At my school duct tape was the de facto punishment for having large holes in your pants. Holes were allowed providing they were not on the inner thigh and were less than 4 inches in diameter. No unnatural hair colors, except for Lily, who dyed her hair the school color, maroon. It was dark enough to argue it was a weird red-brown, but it was clearly maroon and I think she got away with it because it was school spirit. This was a thing at my school. I'm a natural redhead but it's a very vibrant red. I was sent to the office and suspended until my mom came to get me. She has the exact same natural color. I was wearing a regulation uniform jacket in a classroom during winter that had no heating. The teacher demanded I remove my jacket and I refused because I was cold. She sent me to the headmistress. Clear liquids only. Some kid brought in Gatorade mixed with alcohol of some sort, so in effort to combat it afterwards they wanted us to only drink clear liquids out of clear containers. As if vodka and white rum don't exist. You weren't allowed things like chocolate bars or basically any unhealthy snack in your lunchbox, but they then sold double chocolate chip cookies and ice buns in the canteen. When I was in junior school, UK boarding school in the 80s, we were not allowed to say okay as it was considered slang and not befitting the young ladies and gentlemen that we should aspire to be. For context, junior school covered ages 5-13. We also had to have a comb and a hanky for us at all times. On top of that, we weren't allowed to have our hands in our pockets because it looks slovenly. If you were caught on your phone they'd take it until the end of the week. You'll get it back at 3:30 on Friday. Parents went mental and a few even came together and sent bills through for part of the phone bills. They ditched that rule after 2 weeks. We had to pay $5 at the end of the day to get our phones back from the office after they got taken. Most teachers would just give it back at the end of class, but the butthole teachers loved turning them into the office. Girls must have a male escort them to prom as their date. If your date bails, you can't enter. We were an all-girls school. Many of us had 0 guy friends. Finding dates was hard. I remember one year a girl's boyfriend dumped her when everyone was starting to show up for photos. She showed up at the venue, mascara running, begging the principal to let her go in. Principal wouldn't let her. One of the senior homeroom teachers ended up calling her nephew and said, "I need you to put on your suit and get here ASAP." He showed up with flowers and everything. So it was salvageable but totally avoidable. The worst part? It wasn't always a rule until one year a group of girls went as friends and kept stealing other people's dates. Way to punish everyone forever because of one group of B. Whoa, it must have been expensive to have that many prostitutes at one prom. A kid went to the hospital after falling from a wall. Then the school painted yellow lines around the school as a border which the kids weren't allowed to cross. So the teachers had to stand guard and make sure no one crossed it. We were not allowed to put our coats on until we were outside. During winter when we would have a storm, we had to go outside in the rain to put our coats on or face receiving a detention if we put them on in the corridor. In high school, hair length on men and stubble. Look, a bunch of 15-16-year-old guys are going to have a bit of stubble no matter how thoroughly we shave. Forcing us to go to the principal's office to dry shave nearly daily is freaking absurd. All boys school with those same rules. One day I was in class and my teacher sent me to the dean for not shaving. I had stubble and am a hairy guy who's had facial hair since like 7th grade. My friend defended me saying I shaved this morning and showed the dean a Snapchat screenshot of me with shaving cream on half my face from that morning. That teacher did not like me, lol. Dildos were banned. The school never thought they would have to print those words. You would think it was a given. Until a senior bought 100 dildos and snuck them around the school every day for 2 weeks straight. I love how utterly weird some kids can be. My primary school had this weird obsession with safety. When we played dodgeball, the boys had to throw with their non-dominant hand while the girls got to throw full force. And we could get detention for going where the teachers couldn't see us. But the worst rule by far was that we weren't allowed to run on the playground. I'll never forget the time my teacher literally said, "The playground is no place to run." Lucky to be the ambidextrous kid during dodgeball. My friend nearly got suspended for wearing a trench coat. It was the late 90s. Probably didn't help that he had long hair, was shy, and weird. My school had a rule against trench coats but it was never specific, so at one point my brother got a new winter coat and it happened to be long and they wouldn't let him wear it because they classified it as a trench coat. I don't think it helped he also had long hair and was a loner. Dumbest rule: zero tolerance for fighting. This meant both the kid who started the fight and the kid who got beat on were both suspended. If the kid who got beat on just took it, he was just sent home for the rest of the day. If he dared to fight back, he was suspended for a week just like the kid who started the fight. Here's the truly stupid part. The school administrators couldn't explain how this led to more brutal fights. No long hair for boys. No black and red type clothing. Example: red undershirt, black overshirt, black pants, red shirt. No heavy metal band t-shirts or tapes. Anyone drawing pentagrams will be suspended. During the satanic panic of the 80s.
This video was presented by Adventure Capitalist.
If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.